Heard her crying next door. At first, I thought I was imagining it, the soft, broken sobs that slipped through the paper-thin walls around midnight. But then I heard it again, a sharp gasp, a muffled whimper, and the sound of someone trying so hard not to be heard. That night, I couldn't close my eyes. Something inside me told me that cry would change my life forever. It had been 3 weeks since I moved into apartment 3B, small, lonely, but affordable. After my wife passed away 2 years ago, I'd been living like a ghost in my own body. Work, home, silence, repeat. The world had turned gray, and I had stopped caring about color. Until that night, the crying grew louder, and I found myself standing near the wall, frozen. I wanted to ignore it, tell myself it was none of my business, but I couldn't. There was something in her voice. Pain. Fear. Desperation. I finally grabbed my jacket and stepped into the cold hallway. Apartment 3's door was slightly ajar, the faint light of a lamp spilling into the corridor. Hello? I called softly, knocking once. No answer. Just a quick shuffle inside, like someone startled. I pushed the door a little. I'm your neighbor from next door. I heard someone crying. Are you okay? There was silence. Then a voice, trembling and small, please, just go away. I almost did. But that voice, it didn't sound angry, it sounded broken. Listen, I don't mean to intrude. I just want to make sure you're all right. The door opened wider, revealing a young woman, maybe mid-20s, with tear-streaked cheeks, clutching a small blanket to her chest. Behind her, the apartment looked nearly empty. No furniture except a small mattress on the floor, a few scattered clothes, and an open backpack. I'm fine, she whispered, avoiding my eyes, but she wasn't. Her hands were trembling, and her lip had a faint bruise. I didn't need to ask more. I nodded slowly. Okay. But if you ever need anything at all, I'm right next door. That should have been the end of it. But as I turned to leave, I heard it, the sound of a baby's cry. She froze. I looked at her. You have a baby? Her eyes filled with tears again. She didn't answer. She just stepped aside, and I saw him, a tiny baby wrapped in a towel, sleeping on the mattress. Maybe 6 months old. Too quiet. Too thin. I don't have milk, she whispered. I ran out 3 days ago. I tried to get help, but her voice broke. I lost my job, my husband left, and I just can't anymore. Something inside me cracked open. Maybe it was the memory of losing my wife. Maybe it was the emptiness I'd carried since. I didn't know her, but at that moment, I felt her pain as if it were my own. Stay here, I said quietly. I'll be right back. I ran to the store down the street, bought baby formula, diapers, and some food. When I returned, she looked at me like she couldn't believe someone actually came back. She fed the baby with shaking hands, whispering, "Thank you." Her name was Maya. The baby's name was Noah. That night, we talked until dawn. About loss. About love. About how it feels to be invisible in a city full of people. She told me she used to sing, that music was the only thing that made her feel alive, but life had taken that away too. I told her I used to play guitar, but hadn't touched it since my wife's funeral. We laughed softly about how two broken people could end up as neighbors. Before she fell asleep holding her baby, she said something that stuck with me. Maybe we both needed someone to hear us cry. That night changed everything. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of soft humming through the wall. Her voice, fragile but beautiful, filled the silence I'd been living in for years. It felt like the apartment had come back to life. Days turned into weeks. I'd help her with groceries, she'd bring food over sometimes. Noah started recognizing my face, reaching out with tiny hands. The first time he giggled, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, hope, but life isn't a fairy tale. One night, I came home from work to find the door to 3A wide open. The room was empty. The mattress gone. No sign of her. No note. Nothing. My heart sank. Had she been evicted? Had something happened? I searched everywhere, asked the landlord, checked hospitals. Nothing. It was like she'd vanished for months. I went back to my quiet apartment, the silence heavier than ever. I'd sit there, guitar in hand, strumming chords that reminded me of her humming. Of Noah's laugh. Of the night I heard her crying. Then, one evening, I turned on the TV and froze. On a small local show, a woman stood on stage, microphone trembling in her hands. Maya, she looked different, stronger, brighter. She sang like she was telling the world her story, and I knew exactly which night she was singing about. The lyrics spoke of loneliness, of kindness, of someone who heard her cry when no one else did. I sat there, tears streaming down my face. After her performance, the host asked, "That song, what inspired it?" And Maya smiled through her tears. A neighbor. A stranger who didn't just hear me crying, he listened. A few weeks later, I heard a knock on my door. When I opened it, she was standing there, baby Noah in her arms, smiling. "I told you I'd come back," she said softly. "Anne, I have something for you." She handed me a small envelope. Inside was a ticket. Her first big concert. "Front row, I want you there," she said. Because that night changed everything for me. And for the first time in years, I smiled, really smiled. Because it changed everything for me too. Sometimes, you don't need to be a hero to change a life. Sometimes, you just need to listen when someone cries. That's how love, the quiet, humankind, finds its way back to broken hearts.